Welcome back to the show. I'm Ray and I'm here to host Sara, who brings her counterintuitive opinions on everyday issues. Today, we're going to talk about periods. So, my question to you is that based on what I've observed, it seems like, especially in Indian societies, there exists a kind of stigma in society about girls having their periods. Like, girls can't do most things when they're on their period, they have to remain isolated and all that stuff. But at the same time, periods show the good health of a girl, and obviously it's important. So if a girl doesn't have their periods, then it is far worse. So it's almost like there is no escape for girls. They have their periods, they're tortured, and they don't have their periods, they're tortured even more. So society in India wants a bleeding girl, but when they bleed, it's a problem. What do you think about this, and where do you think this originates?
In my view, it comes from the misinterpretation of the religion
Okay.
by commercial religious people.
Okay, so let's begin with what do you think religion in general actually says about periods?
If I had to say, like, by the origin, there is nothing particularly about periods.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
That
But in old days, there were no like sanitary pads or kind of menstrual cups or any kind of, like required
tools.
tools.
Yeah.
So, in those times, it was difficult to maintain cleanliness.
Okay.
So, that was the biggest problem. Like, there used to be cloths, or there used to be some other, like, if they are like lower middle class, then it will be like some use even soil.
Right.
So, it was so messy in old days.
Right.
So that's why, in order to not like make the house more unclean,
Right.
they made certain kind of rules.
Okay.
It's not like a religious thing. It's more like
A hygiene thing.
hygiene thing. Because
Okay.
they were like, for an example, a girl starts to bleed for 5 days.
Right.
So what were the tools that were available? It was really difficult. If you
Right.
use a cloth, if you have to wash, it will make everything messy.
Right.
And they didn't have that much of capacity to go and everything. So there were used to be cases like smelliness, like bad odor,
Okay.
a lot of things. So in order to overcome that problem, they made certain rules, which are not to torture the woman.
Right. But then nowadays we do have sanitary pads, but then there is a large swath of society, especially in rural India, who still use cloth. So you're saying that this stigmatization, which started off as rules for hygiene, are valid for people who are using cloth?
Nope, it's not. In those times, they were not known about the facts, and there was no certain improvement, like scientific knowledge
Right.
about these
Okay.
things.
Yeah, there was also the lack of scientific knowledge.
Yes,
Okay.
because no one knew like why is it exactly happening.
Okay.
That's a big problem, because
Right.
nowadays you know that okay, ovulation, it's a menstrual cycle. There's some sort of system which needs to be, you know,
So it is almost like it is one of
Regular.
those. It's one of those cases where people fear what they don't understand.
yeah.
Okay.
And usually in Hinduism or like most of the conservative religions, blood is like supposed to be demonic. So
Right.
it's like always blood is not supposed to be taken like good.
Yes, in Abrahamic religions, blood itself is stigmatized. So then it stands to reason that periods are stigmatized.
By the way, I feel it's so like so funny because in every religion there is a sacrifice.
Right.
In every religion there is a part where they tell about how to sacrifice animals.
Right.
So anyway, you're causing the slaughtering and everything, but removing blood will make you like,
Right.
sacred. I really don't understand
Yeah,
that.
maybe the justification is that the slaughtering happens in a secluded and
No,
isolated
I'm not telling
part.
about the slaughtering of that thing. I'm telling about the slaughtering in front of the temples,
Right.
which they are bled out in front of the temple, and until it dies, its blood flows and flows,
Right.
and its legs are like tied to the trees.
Right.
So I don't know where it comes from. Like when you are doing this thing, like you feel it's like for God to make her,
Right.
like to make her anger less and everything. And when
Okay.
in your home it's happening, it's unholy.
Right.
I don't know.
So religions don't particularly talk about periods that much, but now coming to contemporary society, we see rules such as a girl on their period cannot do a religious ritual, or a girl on her period should not stay in the same place as other people and should be isolated. So then these things are misinterpretations. How exactly?
Like I don't want to tell about particular religion, but overall all religions have the same meaning. Like one God that created the entire universe,
Right.
and each and every part of this universe is the God
The
itself.
God's creation, yeah.
It's the God's creation, so that everything is sacred.
Right.
Sacred. That is the theory of every religion.
Right.
Because no religion denies this fact.
Okay.
There exists a God who is the creator of the entire universe,
Right.
and we are supposed to be grateful to the life that's given to us or
Right.
bestowed to us by the God.
Right.
So that's the meaning of entire religion, right?
Right.
So if that is the meaning, everything is created by God, every system is created by God, so every system should be respected.
Right.
If you respect God, you need to respect each and every creature.
So you should respect this system of periods.
Obviously.
That happens
Because-
to half the human population.
Because in every religion, reproduction is the most sacred duty of the people,
Right.
of the beings. It's the
No. Reproduction is definitely sacred. It's just the periods that are the exact opposite of sacred.
I don't understand, but it's like I think we need to get to the origin of religion rather than the advertising of the religion by these corporate religious persons.
Right.
Because you know that corporate system pollutes everything.
Right.
Once it is commercial, there is no meaning underneath it.
Right.
So the same thing here. If there are more rules, for an example, you know this, like what we say, a girl is by default a sinner, okay, because of the mistakes she could be doing on her periods, like touching the tulsi tree,
Right.
or unknowingly touching the offerings to the god or anything. So that's why for getting rid of that sin, there are some rituals to do.
Right.
So this is entirely again the marketing. I knew, like my neighbor was there. She was having 2 kids. On one day, what happened when she was going to Tirupati, she got her period.
Right.
Unexpectedly, she got.
Right.
And later on, what happened? Accidentally, her son became sick.
Right.
Because it was almost hill and it was like so much elevation
yeah.
and everything. And he was again in like 1.5 years old.
Right.
So it's decided that he is gonna be sick.
Right.
But she was so frightened that because of her period, it happened, and she paid the religious practitioner
Right.
to make a big homa
Right.
for like 80,000 bucks.
Right.
So
To ward off the evil that has come because she's bleeding.
yes, but that's the thing now. Like if there exists certain rules, then there exists certain profiteering system.
Right.
So because of this profiteering system, they are passing these misinterpreted, myths
Right.
to people, they are propagating these myths into people so that they have this in their belief system, even
Okay.
though no religion told this.
Okay. So, final question is that if some of our audience may be, the people who stigmatize periods, like elders in the family, or maybe girls who see themselves as second-class citizens when they are on their periods, what would be your short and concise advice that you could give them?
Okay, if you are a believer in God, you need to believe that his every creation is intelligent.
Right.
You should not doubt the God's creation. If God is creating something, you need to respect it, and you need to know how to respect others.
Right, but then that's what the purveyors of this system will also say, the exact same thing, that God has decided that you are going to be impure for 5 days in a month.
God didn't give us traditions. Okay, God gave us the instructions, it's like set of instruction manual which you can follow or not.
Right.
Like for instance, the most flexible religion in the world, in my view, is Hinduism.
Okay.
Because there is no must in Hinduism.
Right.
It's not like you should do something.
Right.
It's like everything is your choice. Everything is explained so that you can choose whatever you want.
Right.
And in entire Bhagavad Gita, it never occurred to me that there is a single place where they talked about how a bleeding girl should behave.
Right. So it's not mentioned, and the traditions are human constructs.
Yes.
Basically.
They are it's like, for an example, if you have to control an entire clan, or you want to maintain a profiteering system, you need to make the woman weak.
Right. So
that's a basic thing.
So it's stigmatization of periods is essentially a tool for social control.
Yes.
Okay. That was a wonderful conversation. We will definitely hear more about this in our future videos. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you liked our talk. So, see you next time.